a recipe that I've done before. So it's a variation on the similar type of thing. It's kind of like an open ravioli dumpling, open dumplings type of thing. It's a Turkish dish, one of those dishes where the filling that you put in the dumplings, it's kind of quite interchangeable, like open raviolis. So along that kind of vein of things. So I've got some minced chicken, which I was using to clarify some stock the other day, so we've got that to use up. We've got some onions that we're getting to the stage where they're a little bit past the best, so we need to use those up. The garden is being kind, and the chives have started sprouting, so we've got some fresh chives. We've got a little bit of thyme. We've got some garlic that needs using up. We've got some Pecorino cheese that was an utter disaster in pasta alla Grisa. I pronounced that wrong, I always do. It's too dry for anything else, but it can go in the dumplings. I've made some non-egg pasta because there's no point, it doesn't require eggs in it. What we're going to use it for, it doesn't really need eggs. So it's just flour and water pastry, really. And then I've made fresh ricotta because this is what I wanted to do with it, so I've made fresh ricotta. I've got too much, I will do something else with the rest of it. And then we've got some cheap tins of tomatoes. So the dumpling stuffing will be a mixture of the chicken, some of the ricotta, half the onions, the chives, some of the dried out past its best pecorino, and then the sauce that the dumplings cook in will be the tomatoes, half the onions, and the thyme, and a little bit of garlic. Pretty straightforward. So I'm going to cook the onions, all the onions together, saute them off in a little bit of oil, and then I'll take half the onions and put that into the stuffing. Add the tomatoes to the other half of the onions, and we'll make the sauce from that with a little bit of thyme in and a little bit of garlic. We'll reduce it down by half, so it'll be like half the original volume. So it'll be like a tin and a half worth of volume, because obviously it's the volume of the onions as well. And then that's pretty much it. And we'll roll out the pasta, and we'll make some dumplings and all that kind of stuff. So I'll do a bit of chopping, do a bit of cooking, and then we'll come back when we're putting everything in together. You don't need to see me rolling out pasta, so I'll probably have the pasta rolled out and the stuffing just ready to be mixed together. But the ratio is about 750 grams of stuffing, about 400 grams of pasta. I'm using fresh pasta-ish, but you can buy obviously your own sheets of pasta from anywhere you fancy. That's pretty straightforward. I think it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, the chives are going in the stuffing, the thyme's going in the sauce. Yes, that's it. Oh, and then I've got some cheap cheese. Cheap supermarket cheese. It's that kind of stuff. It's not really. My cheesemonger will go apeshit with me. The only stuff, I shouldn't really be buying cheese from anyone else apart from him. This stuff, it's only really suitable for cooking. If I'm honest, I don't think it's really. Once you've had good cheese, there's no point going back. So anything like that, good to make a sauce out of, good to put on in a toasted cheese sandwich, that type of thing. So I'll be putting some of that on top, about 100 grams of that on top. But anyway, I'm waffling. I'll do some cooking and some chopping and some prepping and putting things together, and some rolling. That's me rolling pasta out. And then we'll be back at that stage. Right, so the easy tomato sauce has been made, and we've got about 800 milliliters of volume. So it was 250 grams, no, it'd be more than that. It was like 400 grams of onions and 2 tins of tomatoes, 3 cloves of garlic. I put some salt in and some pepper in. I'm going to puree it because I want it a thin sauce, because I want it to cook the dumplings. So we'll just need, that's on, that's fine. There we go, that's enough. Get rid of that. Out of the way, and then we're going to put, we've got two oven-proof dishes, so we'll put a little bit of sauce in each one. It just needs to cool down slightly. So I'll put that much in there, that much in there. just save a little bit just in case. Fine. And then, so the stuffing mix. There's two. I've done it so there's 250 grams of ricotta. Ricotta mostly comes in 250 grams containers. So I kind of thought I'm best off. There's nothing worse than having to buy a container of ricotta and then you're only using half of it and then thinking, what on earth am I going to do with the rest of that ricotta? But anyway, so I've done the recipe, so it's 250 grams of ricotta because that's what the size they come in. So it's 250 grams of ricotta. There's about 250 grams of chicken and there's a few bits of onions in there. There's 250 grams of cooked onions, which was 400 grams of raw onions, and there's about 75 grams of the pecorino, and then there's the chives just underneath there. Put a little bit of salt and pepper in, and then we just need to mix. So we'll form our stuffing. I normally would taste stuffing before I started making things with it. I've had to guess the seasoning because it's got raw chicken in, and I don't want to be eating raw chicken. It'll be alright. Pour it in. So I think it wants a bit more seasoning. So a little bit more seasoning. That'll be fine. Season the sauce as well, so that'll be okay. The pecorino is kind of quite salty. I was thinking about putting some bacon in, but we've got enough of everything else. So that's the stuffing, nice and mixed. And then we'll go through how we're going to make these dumplings stroke open raviolis. Pretty straightforward. I think you'll be able to do it. So pasta is rolled out, and I've rolled it out on my machine, and it's on not the thinnest setting, but it's the setting before the thinnest setting. So I don't know what that is. A couple of mil, something like that. It's quite soft. Is this pastry stroke pasta? So we'll just be a little bit careful with it. And I floured it quite a lot because the last time I made it, it was sticking everywhere. So we'll have to water around the outsides of the dumplings. So about a teaspoon in each. We'll do a few, and then we just need to push them together. There's nothing fancy about this. When you think about raviolis, tortellinis and raviolis are a little bit tricky to make. You have to make sure that all the air gets out of them. These are open. You don't need to worry about that. And I think if a nice segue into making your own raviolis. If you can do this, give yourself a bit of confidence, and you can move on to the next level. So it's about a teaspoon of mixture in each one. Some will have more, some will have less. They're not perfect squares. I'm not in a perfect mood. Who wants perfect anyway? Anyway, right, so quick wash that off fingers. And then I'll use my fingers again, and then we just want to make a little bit of wet each side of those. I won't do them all, because we need to crack on and make them. So. So we'll do a few so you can see exactly how we make them, but pretty straightforward. You just have to grab them and then push them together like that, pressing the sides in. If you're making raviolis and things, you're supposed to squeeze the pasta so it's the same thickness as this pasta here. So this pasta here has to be squeezed in as much as that pasta there. We don't have to do that because we're not making proper raviolis and proper tortellinis. And also I kind of think, don't you kind of want different textures when you're cooking things? Anyway, so push those together, press them down, give them a flat bottom. This one probably could do with a bit more stuffing in, but it's fine. So push them in like that, give them down, press them down so it gets a flat bottom, and then we're going to put them in the sauce. So I'm going to make some more raviolis before I put them in the sauce. Raviolis, dumplings, whatever you want to call them. So just together, fingers, push. You kind of want to make sure that we seal this edge right the way down to the bottom, because we don't want any kind of dumpling filling squeezing out into the sauce that we're going to cook it in. It's not essential, It doesn't really matter if some of them split open. You know, some things matter in life and other things don't. You know, a split dumpling or ravioli is not the end of the world, is it? So that there. We'll do a few more. I find myself rewatching videos, learning how to do things, because people go through things so quickly. Even though it's kind of quite simple, I think it's important that you see how things are done. So you just push them together. The water's just going to help it hold together. And press them down flat bottom, so they sit. So if they haven't got a flat bottom, they're going to fall over, and we want them all to be stood upright in the dish. And I was thinking, I don't know if I'm going to use that cheap cheese. I think I'm going to use up that pecorino, the rest of the pecorino, because it's not really suitable for anything else. So, but it's not going to melt properly, so I'm in two minds about it. I'm not entirely sure. So I'm undecided as of yet. So this is a big one, the big boy. So they're not all uniform. There we go. Flat bottom down. So I'll do more, and then we'll come. It's just a case of carry on going until you run out of pasta or you run out of filling. Well, I'm not going to run out of pasta because I've got loads of pasta. But there you go. Dumpling like that, and we'll arrange when I've made more, because I don't want them to sit too long in the sauce that will start to go soggy. They need to kind of sit in the sauce and then go straight into the oven. So I'll make some more, and then we'll kind of put them all together. So I'll stop, and then we'll be back when I've made more and we can put it all together. You'll see, I'm rubbish at explaining sometimes. So I have filled the dumplings, stroke open raviolis, and now time to put them in the sauce. So there is 24. Is there 24? I think it's 24. Yeah, there's 24, which is half, and then it's half the sauce in here as well. Slightly a smaller container than the other one. Let's see if they actually fit in. So just a case of pushing them into the sauce like that, so they get surrounded by the sauce. Also, you kind of want to make them look a little bit pretty as well. So push them in like that, and then the next row just wants to get pushed into the gap there, like that. It would help if I made them all a little bit more uniform, but you get the idea. So, and I'm thinking, because it's raw chickens in this, we're certainly going to have to cook it for a little bit lower and a little bit slower. So I'm thinking 150 for an hour without any cheese on top, and then we'll have a look at what they're like after an hour. Chicken needs to be cooked. I don't want to be eating raw chicken. A little bit different if the stuffing had been already cooked. The one that I did before was with beef, or if you're just going to doing like a ricotta and hard cheese one with a few herbs and some onion, that would be nice. You won't need to worry about cooking the chicken, but I'm just a little bit concerned. So 150. I'm going to get, yes, we are going to get all these in. But it looks quite pretty, don't you think? I think it does. And it's going to look lovely with some cheese on top. And all the separate ingredients are nice tasting, so it's certainly going to taste nice. So last row just there, like that. That one there, that one there. So yes, 150 for an hour. Just give it a knock down. Sorry about the noise. 150 for an hour. We'll see how it is, and we'll see what cheese we're going to put on. I think I'm going to put on the Pecorino cheese on top, because it needs using up. It's a little bit dry, and it's all right tasting, but it just needs using up rather than that cheap cheese I talked about earlier. So in the oven, saying that again, in the oven 150 for an hour, and then we'll see how it is. I've had a little bit of an afterthought, and because these are going to be in the oven for longer and cooking at a slower temperature, I don't want them to dry out. So I was thinking what I'll do is we'll cover them, and because the cheese is a little bit drier and needs using up, I think we'll put the cheese on now. We'll cover them. It kind of ruins the effect of the what we call it, of the dumplings, but I think the temperature and the covering will melt the cheese. It's not really suitable for anything else, just a little bit better, and then we'll have a nice, it should work. But I don't want them to dry out too much, so I think a covering with the cheese and then some foil over the top. There's about 100 grams worth of cheese, a bit of foil over the top like that, and then in the oven, I think that's going to work better. I think it will keep the moisture in, the cheese will melt a little bit better, and then if we want to gratinate it, we can simply just put it underneath the grill. So that's what we're going to do. Just a little bit of an update. There we go. Out the oven, nice and hot, cooked all the way through. I didn't bother grilling the cheese on top. I still want the cheese to be kind of quite soft and melty. So what we'll do is we'll pause the video and move the camera, and then we can have a look. We'll get in. Always with cheese, you're always best off just to use a pair of scissors to cut through the cheese. Otherwise, one person gets all the cheese, and it's heartbreaking if that person's not you. So, cut through the cheese. We'll dish a portion out. I'll move the camera, and then we'll dish a portion out, and then you can get like a better look, and we'll get a picture as well. But anyway, it's going to be a success. We just need to pause, and we'll move. Right, so hopefully it will come out in one piece, and it's not stuck on the bottom. There we go. But yeah, I mean, let's be honest, most pasta dishes are a variation of the same kind of theme. I mean, it's open raviolis, isn't it? Type of thing. But it's closed ravioli. Oh, rubbish. There we go. Absolutely delicious. A bit of a faff, but it's just lasagna in a different form, isn't it? Let's be honest. Like most things are a version of something else. So it's dumplings, but it's also raviolis, but it's also cannelloni. It's also lasagna. It's a different variation on the same kind of theme, just a different way of doing it. And delicious. I've had it before, it's lovely. But anyway, it's just a variation on something I've done before. So yeah, kind of think 400 grams of pasta. The pre-bought stuff is fine if you can't be bothered making your own, and then 750 grams of stuffing, filling, and was it 800 grams, 800 milliliters of sauce, and it'll serve four people, easy peasy. Certainly 4 generous portions, and then 100 grams of cheese on top. Anything you want to put in the dumpling stroke raviolis. There you go, delicious.